Hey guys, let's give it a couple more minutes so the room can fill in, and then we'll start the AMA. Guys, we're having Ataxia is having a technical issue with his mic. He's getting it sorted right now. Emilio, if you could accept the people in the waiting room. Yeah, Emilio, if you can make Ethan co-host, that'd be good.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Hey everyone. Let's see the chat. Okay. Well, let's talk about that first. So just so everyone is um on the same page, this week all the projects that have any relation with the nerd quarter have been targeted in how can I describe it? In organized attack, and it was based around creating FUD with Twitter account suspensions, and then actually there was a coordinated like group of people making accounts like asking about it, right? Like more than there's some people that actually were concerned about it, but I think if like a good amount of people were just like adding like uh fuel to the fire with that. Uh, we are not really concerned at all by this. We think that having this sort of attention is something that's bound to happen at some point, and we also gonna quote Keen on this: the code is law, and we can all just check what's being submitted and the work that they've done um, to know that it's a good protocol, right? So, on that vein, the people who know um, have been still asking us and wanting to partner with us, and like the Sushi Swap partnership is just a big proof of that. I'm sure they weren't looking at Twitter metrics when deciding who's the next project to join, and we agree. I mean, we know that we have a good thing going and a good community, and we put a lot of value in you guys. That's why we try to be as transparent as possible, and that's one of the things that really help us um, clear the thought. And now going into the next topic, which is today's thought. Well, Apollo uh, was started off as a contributor. At some point, he bought a bunch of strudels and that, um, and we were at a point where we needed all the help we could get. And and the thing about these types of projects, and I think everyone should understand, is that they are um, projects where you shouldn't come in expecting like to be paid by play, but rather to participate in like a larger thing that eventually will pay off. I mean, the payoff is usually like much greater than the average salary for like community management, right? And well, Apollo didn't quite get it, I guess, and um, he so the thing that he started, like he started adding more tasks that he just assumed that he was gonna get paid for, and then like charging for it. And it's like he's charging all of you, right? Because it's the community, it's funds to help the project, and we don't really want to overpay for things that really haven't happened. We want to pay, actually we want to pay the community for outstanding work, and there's a few people that I've been in contact with and that we are gonna like pay bonuses to, because of how great how much help they had, but they didn't have to ask for it, right? So I think we should try and keep that dynamic where we help the project not expecting to be paid directly back unless we agree to it, right? Because this doesn't mean that we're not paying people, which is absurd. We're totally want to to do that as much as possible. And yeah.
Yeah, hopping on here a little bit on that topic. I highly suggest everybody that has any questions regarding how the deaf fund is being managed to refer to the Medium article that was posted yesterday regarding compensation and budget moving forward. We're gonna do weekly or biweekly updates regarding compensation or dev expenditure, and we will be 100% transparent, and you guys will be able to be up to date with anything regarding that fund allocation.
Right. And also um this is all something we can discuss in the public forum. Um I I I really think that we should use Discord a little bit more, and I'm going to do an effort to be more active there, and we could get some productive discussions going on to what can be done to help Strudel, um, what can be improved, and and have your general input in things. Because if we have an active, engaged community, things like FUD, like stuff like this won't really matter because we are all in the same information, right? There's nothing being hidden from anyone. Um, and like from the start, feel free to ask, and we'll try to do our best to give the full information. I mean, as much information as we have, right? Because that's the other thing, we don't really want to go into this cycle of saying, okay, we're doing this, and then having people demanding things to be done.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, that's why last Zoom, um that's what I was mentioning. We don't want to speculate anything until it's a done deal, or I mean,
yeah,
moving
and
on
also
after it's a done
also
deal,
if
or
people want things done like faster, the community can organize, and we'll help and give you all the tools to get things done. But and if we get things done, there is going to be compensation and stuff for it, but it's not, the only thing we don't want is for it to be about the compensation, right? This is about helping strudels and about making our project bigger, because our compensation really is the long-term stability of our project, and this is something we're gonna build out over time, right? And like, speaking of a strategy, like we can like talk about that a bit. the thing about strudels, and people are asking a lot, like how long can these last, right? This can't last. And basically this is going to last for as long as we maintain a healthy community that supports and believes in the project. And the more this grows, the idea, and this is more than like the smart contract, which works, and it's very important for the idea to be real. Um, so we got some background noise. Okay, so it's about the idea that the smart contract allows bridging the bitcoins, and once that's created and it's deployed on the blockchain, it cannot be undone. So we have to build and tell people about this in order to grow the amount of people holding our tokens. And the value that we bring to the ecosystem is really something that's going to be apparent over time, because like right now we're starting to enter in this era of bridges and chains and bridges, like people going over to Binance and over to other chains. And and the fact that we can make this trustless bridge, which is going to help like to keep the confidence in the underlying token as we bridge it over to other chains, is going to be really apparent, because if it's all wrappers and trust and bridges that need collateral, if we keep going to that route of trust minimized bridges, the wrappers are going to end up being more expensive than the tokens themselves. So our value proposition that requires no collateral to bridge a token is something no one else is really doing. And for that reason, we can and will keep having a long term value in the ecosystem, which will be undeniable once we achieve our vision, which is to be utilized in as many protocols as possible. With the sushi swap migration, this let's just follow the flow of information. With the sushi swap migration, what we achieved is that we are now being traded on sushi swap. We will be traded on sushi swap. Uh, we have a plan to maintain the Uniswap liquidity to some degree with the adventure token. So we're gonna keep that, and we're gonna use balancer with them. So we're gonna be on sushi swap, Uniswap balancer, and I know that there's already a viable 1 inch pool. So we would be in the four top decentralized exchanges in Ethereum, which is a really nice thing. And then we can start bridging off to Honeyswap and stuff on side chains, maybe Lubre. We have to figure out if there is a way to incentivize that. But soon we may be the like one of the most distributed uh, bitcoins just by the number of chains we're on. And I'm working like on a few projects by Nerd, which are trying to incentivize that specifically. So I think that there's going to be some nice updates from the nerds that are going to feature both BBTC and Turtle in a cross-chain world. But that's, again, going back to the other point, that's not something we want to compromise on dates. It's going to be ready when it's ready, but we are thinking in that space. So I just wanted you guys to know that um, firsthand.
Can I ask a quick question about the things you just said?
Yeah, sure.
So you said about the balancer thing. So does that mean there will be a balancer pool in which there will be strudels and VBTC, or only VBTC, only strudels? And then what other tokens will there be in the pool?
Yeah, so the what we have been talking with Adrian from the Adventure Token is that we would like to have a strudel ETF, and it basically
Adrian from Adventure Token. I'm sorry. Can you elaborate? more on this? Who is this guy and what is a venture token?
Okay, so Adventure Token is a project I am participating as an advisor, and product designer, and it is protocol that makes exchange trading funds for decentralized exchanges. So basically, we make pools, like custom pools and balancer that fit different needs. So the first product they have is like a crypto 101 pool that you can just invest in and have like decent returns over time with like a good risk reward ratio. And one of the things that they want to do is to support interesting projects and to use Balancer in novel ways. So we have some experience by pooling. You can actually on Balancer, you can pool Uniswap liquidity pool tokens, and that gives you an opportunity to create this venue for arbitrage where people can either buy them with ether for less than the average cost of transaction, like including the price difference, or they can just take profits without having to reduce the liquidity by using the balancer pool. And so what we're going to do is to make a even split 6 ways. The balancer pool is going to contain both BBTC and Trudel. Then it's going to contain both the Strudel BBTC and the Strudel ETH. The BBTC ETH and the Strudel ETH pool, the liquidity pool tokens. And then it's going to feature Ethereum and the TWA ETH LP. So that it's tied to their ecosystem. So we're going to be launching that pool, and you're actually going to be able to add that pool into another balancer pool, which can be yield farmed. So it's like a pretty advanced use of balancer pool, the balancer protocol itself. Do you have any further questions on that?
No, I'll ask some more questions later, but continue for now.
Okay. So yeah. So we were talking about our plan to be in the different dexes, and that is something that we've close to achieving, and what's going to happen next is that we're going to have to rework a little bit our farm setup, because the sushi deal requires us to change our pools from Uniswap to Sushi Swap, and we have to go through a time lock period for that to be activated. Then once that happens, people can just change their tokens to be yielded on Strudel Farm, and if they decide to, they can go to the onsen farm, deposit there for the sushi APY. You should know that at this moment you cannot get double yields, so it's going to have to be a decision, and that's good for the overall health of the project, because if people are not staked on the turtle farm, it's actually going to bring the APY up without really affecting the liquidity. So we're really excited to see how that affects the price overall. Yeah.
So will the like Strudel farm will we have to switch or something? Will we have to just keep farming? What's recommended on that?
So the recommended thing is to keep farming right now as is. Don't change anything until we deploy the change to the farm, and then you can just unstake it and use the Uniswap front end to migrate from Uniswap to SushiSwap, which is like a rewrapping of your tokens. This shouldn't affect the price at all, since people aren't really they shouldn't be. It's not that it shouldn't be, but most people I think won't be on staking their liquidity and removing them, just migrating. Or if they want, we hope that by then by the time that we have the sushi swap change, the Strudel ETF will be available. So if you guys don't want to migrate, you're gonna have the option to go into the ETF to have that Strudel exposure.
And what is the timeline on that?
I spoke with Keen about this yesterday, and he said that it could be done by Tuesday. The upgrade. So to just for peace of mind, we can expect this sometime in the middle of next week. We will give you plenty of time in advance, like at least 24 hours before anything happens, so that you can all we will have the detailed instructions on what you can do, your options, and we'll make sure that everyone's really clear on what we're doing, because this is not something that we're doing from the dev team, but that that we have this is something that we all have to do together, right? It's like a coordinated community effort that needs the community to be really um, happy and engaged about it, so that it's successful. Because if it's not something that everybody wants, and there's factions, and it's going to be hard to execute. So before anything happens, we want to address everyone's concerns. We want to make sure that nobody feels like they don't know what to do or what's happening. And yeah, so that's really important for us at this stage.
Would you say you're trying to get the migration out before the new website, or does that not matter to you guys?
I think it doesn't matter. I think the migration is like on a strategy or importance level is really the most important thing. We have seen the first design for the web page, and everyone's really happy about how it's turning out. We can already tell at this stage that it was a good decision. So we're gonna keep on our policy of just letting that happen when it's ready. Uh, we may be in the situation that both things are happening around the same time, and that would be actually cool because uh, of just the synergistic impact of just moving and having this new front end at the same time. And as an aside, we have some very big influencers that are interested in coming in after V2. Uh, I cannot disclose more than it being on YouTube, and that it would be a long term thing. Uh, we are currently just aiming for the very best in the space. So if that comes through, I'm sure you'll all be very pleased. The Strudel marketing effort is ready to do like a decent marketing spend. We won't be shy in in doing a big partnership. And I think that once we sort out like some of the kinks of what we're doing, um, and finish the roll up of this like new stage, we're all going to be really pleased of where the project is. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to speak?
Yeah. Uh, is it? Are we having both an onsen pool and a normal sushi pool?
I mean, you're gonna have a sushi pool, which is a sushi liquidity pool that you stake at the onsen farm.
Okay, so it's only onsen.
Yeah, but there's no. I mean, as far as I know, there's other sushi pools. Onsen is their project, their program for newer projects. So it's gonna be currently just on onsen. You're right.
Right.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to ask something? This stage, I'm just ready to answer questions. we haven't looked at metrics today, but overall, just we doubled the BBTC from last call, like more than doubled. That's great. We almost tripled the liquidity or something like that. And the one metric I'm looking at is the number of tokens not currently pooled in a liquidity pool. That number is actually still high, and we want to, and the point of all these programs to incentivize liquidity in different forms is to get people to provide more and more liquidity, because that's going to allow us to be more accommodating of bigger buyers. And even if we split the liquidity among some protocols, the big ones, it's okay, because things like 1inch will still route and split the order among many places. So this is all good as long as we keep having good incentives for you guys to provide liquidity, and then that you guys also understand how good of a deal it is to provide liquidity versus just holding strudels, because right now anyone holding strudels is not having a good day, whereas farmers are just farming and don't mind about price fluctuations that much, which is really helpful for the overall sentiment, right? Is there anyone else?
Yeah, there was a chat question. So I was asking about Badger. Can you give us more info on that?
Yeah. So with the Badger guys, I kind of ran. I mean, I met with one of the founders, and he was really. We had a Zoom call, and he was really. Well, we had a really nice rapport, and but the thing is that when he shared the idea of the strudel concept with the rest of the dev team, they ran into a little bit of a. I mean, I think they just didn't get it. Okay. I think they didn't quite get it. And because they were saying, yeah, but our thing is making DeFi more composable. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin more composable. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Here's a Bitcoin, make it composable. That's pretty simple, right? Compose it. Compose my Bitcoin. It should be pretty straightforward. But they saw the fact that it couldn't be returned to the Bitcoin chain as a deal breaker at this stage. Now, the other thing about this story is that in order to get uh, the, I still want the partnership, and in order to get it, what we have to do is to convince not only the devs, because after that conversation, I kept on pressing, and I think I had a really nice breakthrough with the picture I shared with Badger in the middle. But in order to get what we want, we have to convince the average holder of this. We want to have the average holder of Badger to ask them to include strudels. So I'm trying to do some outreach on Discord. Currently just starting this like guerrilla campaign to market strudels to Badger people. Maybe we can talk with Javier to do some specific marketing to them. The issue we have right now is that we don't have Twitter, and that kind of cuts our wings a little bit in that space. But overall, I think that we're gonna get it. I'm pretty sure that we are, because our Bitcoin is quite unique, and to get the full power of Bitcoin in DeFi, you need a trustless one. So they'll come around, but I think it's gonna be easier if we convince the guys, right? So when people talk about top tier exchanges, by the way, thanks about the appreciation. I really, it really means a lot. It really means a lot. So on the topic of top tier exchanges, I think that Uniswap is the top one exchange in the world. But even if I'm wrong currently, uh, we what I do want to have at some point is to have BBTC traded against Bitcoin on Binance. That would be great. To get there, there's a long road ahead, but that basically depends on the amount of Bitcoins that we have under our control. Uh, I'm not pushing for it. I'm not asking for it at this moment because it wouldn't make sense strategy wise. First, we need to get a really solid base on the centralized exchanges and the centralized exchanges in many chains. I would actually be more interested in looking at things like AVAX, for example. They have a nice bridge and it's EVM compatible. We're looking into that thing, like I told you earlier, with trying to incentivize a token in many chains. So, hold on, let me check the chat. Do you know what happened to your Twitter yet? Yeah, so Twitter just said that we were being suspended for spam. If you all followed any of my accounts, we were just like any other account, I think. And the fact that they were all targeted an attack, kind of, I mean, so here's the theory of what happened with Twitter, right? So if you reported an account for a crypto scam, Twitter has no real way of knowing if it's true or not because they're not crypto savvy enough to tell a difference between, say, Strudel or Sushi Swap and like any other food token, right? They're just the same for them. So it would be rather easy to file a bunch of complaints against a bunch of accounts, and they would look at them and they would have no real way of knowing if they could or not. Um, so basically, they did that, and they are very slow in their feedback process, and they haven't
Yeah,
allowed
uh,
us
let
to
me
do the
hop
same.
in real quick. Regarding the question about making a new Twitter and right now. So the problem with that is that we filed the appeal, and when they got back to us, they specifically said that if we made any new accounts, secondary accounts, we would face permanent ban. So I think long term, the best move is to wait until next week rather than just create a new account and face permanent ban, and that way we would just lose all communications on Twitter.
Thanks, Ori.
Thanks, Ori.
Yeah, can I ask a question about the peg? How sure are we that the peg holds up? What are the pitfalls? And will it stay like this, or will it be more harmonized in the future? Because when you're looking at the VBC chart, there's this. It's not exactly the same. Can you? Yeah.
Right. So, right. So one thing I would like for you to see is the next time Bitcoin is going up, check the other rep Bitcoins, and you will notice that most of them also lag significantly. And this comes down to uh, basically amount of liquidity in the pool. Right? So the more Bitcoins we wrap and the more VBTC that exists, the sturdier the price gets because people will not be able to get enough Bitcoins in order to move the price enough to significantly take it down. And this is reinforced by the fact that usually uh, this is also multiplied by the fact that usually what happens if you check the chart on the buys and sells, whenever someone sells a significant amount of Bitcoin, the buys are significantly smaller in percentage, so they end up being split and circulated among more people, who then have less Bitcoin each to sell and take the price down. So this is a recurring process that if you, so I've been looking at, I've been following the price relation to the peg for since it started basically. And what I'm seeing is that the periods between the between peg periods. So you can think of it as a binary option thing, right? Is Bitcoin peg or is it not peg, right? So we went from it never being pegged at all to it, then it reached the peg for a moment. So it went for never pegged to pegging for a moment, then retracing for a long period of time, then recovering the peg now for minutes, then retracing for a shorter period of time, then also recovering the peg, and so on and so forth. So as we continue this process, the one important thing is that since we cannot undo the wrapping process, it is never going. There's never going to be less wrapped bitcoins. There's never going to be less BBTC. There's only going to be more. So that means that over time, this process is going to turn into the opposite, where the token stays pegged most of the time, and then the periods where it's not pegged are rare because someone just notices that. And since there's so many people looking at the price, someone takes the ARP. The only thing we have to generate is the confidence in the market that our brand of Bitcoin is equal to any other brands of Bitcoins. Because you can think of red Bitcoins as just different brands, right? And we're saying that our brand, which uses a different process, achieves the same result, and therefore has the same price, or should be the same price. So people act accordingly.
So basically, the answer to my question is yes. You just need the more VBTC they're minted, the more stabilized the peg gets.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as we keep supporting the liquidity in different places. And there's this concept I carry that liquidity eventually becomes self-sustaining, especially with our incentives. Because if what happens with the peg is that if Bitcoin goes, our BBTC gets cheaper, the APY in the farm gets better because it's not depending on the price of Bitcoin, but rather the price of strudels, right? So if someone just dumps their Bitcoin, their BBTC, and the price goes down a lot, other people are gonna see double and triple APY, or maybe not double, but it's gonna rise significantly. So someone's gonna take that ARP. Okay, so anybody else?
Yeah, do we have any max supply, or is the CoinGecko number wrong? 'Cause it says 1.5 million.
Right, we don't have a max supply because so our like a stated purpose is to wrap the most bitcoins that we can. So since there's 21 million, there's
No,
a
I mean,
lot of
I mean for the Strudel coin, not the VBTC. But
yeah. I'm talking about Strudel. So we are doing what we're doing with Strudels is that we're not doing a max cap, but we're doing a monetary policy that reaches an equilibrium eventually. What I mean is that if you have there's two things about this. So since the strudels are inflating on a percentage basis, but rather a fixed number of strudels per block, every next strudel is a smaller percentage of the total supply of strudels, right? So if you have for example, now we have 1.5 million every day. The base rate of minting is 6,000 strudels. So that is a fraction of a percentage point that is going to get smaller compared to the overall amount of strudels in existence. And the other moderating mechanism that we have, like now, just I'm starting to like mention them because there's plenty, is the fact that the issuance rate is also dynamic. So we saw a really high rate of like ×7 this week. But the thing is that that rate is hardly going to be achieved again because it's going to be very difficult to double the number of Bitcoins minted. If that means right now, that would mean that we would have to mint 20 Bitcoins in a week to double the rate to get the same amount we got last week, right? So over time, the rate is going to work on a reflexive way where it follows the demand for the product. So if there's not that much usage, the yield goes down, there's less strudels to sell, and then suddenly there's no more sellers, right? Then we also have things like the governance rollup that makes you bond strudels for a long period of time, and the auction burn strudels, and we have a lot
Yeah.
of other mechanisms.
Yeah, we're working with Johan on some other deflationary mechanisms for Strudel as well that we're gonna update the community on the coming weeks.
That's a good question. The thing is that it is currently that way because the Bitcoin wallets that we suggest are the only ones that support the BIP70 system, which allows for the relayer system to work. So one of the things that we're gonna have to do once we get bigger, because right now nobody cares about us, right? But if we become a household name, one of the things that we want to do is to do some advocacy about this system and make it and ask the other big wallets on Bitcoin to include it. Yes.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good with the questions. I don't know if Ataxia has any closing comments.
Yeah, just I mean, guys, great work. I mean, I just want to tell you guys that this is a group effort, and as long as we keep the good vibes in the community and understand that this is a game where we're all wearing the same t-shirt, um and we all can win, like this is a cool thing. This is a game where we can all win. There can be in this game there we can get to the point where there's no one losing eventually, because of how the incentives are assigned, right? So just keep going at it, keep telling your friends, let's make this a bigger party because there's room for a little more people, and that's what we need.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, I want to close on that. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Thanks everybody that gave us a time today to join us in the AMA, and we'll keep you guys updated throughout the next week with coming updates.
Right. See
You
ya.
too. See you guys. Have a great weekend.